offering you plant advice for any space in your life. Introducing your perennial hosts, David Bates and Josh Carey.
Hey, welcome in, everybody, and happy holidays. It's the holiday edition of Gardening Inside Out.
Absolutely. Welcome in, everyone, and to our new digs here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So fancy.
Looking
Live from the green room, we've got the entire panel up here, front and center. Welcome in, guys.
Yes,
Caroline Gann, Austin Lowen, and of course,
Hi.
that's Josh Carey. I'm David Bates.
Yep.
Tyler Blankenship is mysteriously off screen. There he is.
Tyler Cam is back.
Tyler Cam.
Yes.
So we are really grateful to have everyone here today and
Yes, we are.
get to check out our new little setup. And a big kudos to Tyler's been working on the for the last couple of weeks. He has been working diligently on our new desk setup here, and he's done a great job with it. So
Drums well.
so gives us this opportunity to all be on one end. We've got more. We've got a demonstration area in the works that'll be coming up in the weeks ahead. So we're looking forward to that and being able to, fully expand all of the different things that we offer here at Gardening Inside Out. So we're glad to have you in today. And before we go further, I guess I should go ahead and do what we normally do, talk about the weather. And today is Saturday, the 23rd of December, Christmas Eve. And we're going to have sprinkles this morning. And I'll just go ahead and check out the radar quickly here. You see, there they are.
Are they rainbow sprinkles?
They were actually a beautiful rainbow on the way in from the south side
actually,
of town.
Oh.
Yes.
Tyler and I were talking before the show about an hour ago that he had hit every green light all the way in today. Plus, there was a rainbow over the green room as he drove in.
That's
So-
right.
You could see
I'll
it.
try and get that up for you. I took a photo.
So those are what we call good omens. Anyway, today is going to be cloudy conditions, few sprinkles early this morning, 61 degrees, so mild conditions, 47 for the
Glorious.
overnight low. Tomorrow, Sunday, 69 degrees, so a really nice
Shorts.
day. You can break out the shorts tomorrow. There will be some showers as we go into the evening hours. That'll probably happen like 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's going to be a wet Christmas here in Middle Tennessee. We will be having rain, maybe could be as much as an inch, 3/4 perhaps. And it will cool off a bit thereafter as we return with partly cloudy conditions pretty much the rest of the week. 57-36 Tuesday, 53-34 Wednesday, 48-30 Thursday, 45-26 on Friday, and 44-24 next Saturday for our New Year's Eve edition, or New Year's Eve edition. Strange how the Christmas and New Year's always come exactly a week apart.
Every year.
I wonder who
That's
planned
amazing,
that.
huh?
Anyway, currently it is 42 degrees here, live from the green room at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
Yes.
So welcome in all. Glad to have you today.
Festive look here, and once again, kudos to Tyler for the new set.
Well, it keeps us from elbowing into each other so much.
And we're far enough away from Caroline so she can't smack us. So,
No, I can't.
okay.
I'm sure I can find something.
She can throw something
She'll
from that
probably
angle,
come up
though.
with Tyler's fly swatter at some
Okay.
point.
Yeah,
and-
okay.
Yes, I can.
If she can find it. It's
So-
buried.
So with all of the holiday things going on, and we all have a lot of it going on in our lives, are there special things that you guys have in mind with regard to holiday gardening that perhaps you've been working in your own garden and encountering things, or perhaps you've been talking to people who have had particular issues going on? So anything that strikes you right off?
I haven't been doing hardly anything in my garden, not going to lie.
Well, you went wild a couple weeks ago.
I did. It's been busy with the holidays, so no, I haven't done much in my garden. I will say this week we got our biggest shipment of pottery in.
We did.
Yes.
It has arrived.
And if you're thinking about maybe getting some pots in your landscape, something we don't think about very much.
I have some, and they look so good, sprinkled in with some whatever you want to put in them.
I'm telling you, like adding a container into your garden and then throwing either annuals in it or maybe a feature little plant, like it's a good look in your garden.
It's going to be great.
Now
At the
the
party.
difficult-
I'm going to be going crazy with that
the
idea.
difficulty,
We have
right?
so many pots now.
Yes.
The difficulty right now is that these containers are still palletized.
Yeah.
They are, so we're not
So-
selling them quite yet. So don't run down here today.
Do you have a kind of a timeline on when you think they will begin to become available?
I will start getting into them probably next week. Yeah, but we have a lot of really, really big pots.
Big
so,
boys.
And
I
it's
saw 'em
Pottery
coming in,
Market.
yes.
So shout out to Pottery Market
Yes.
and Karen.
Hey, Karen.
Hey, Karen. I love
We're gonna
Pottery
get her.
Market's
We're gonna get
pots.
her back on the show here one of these
We
days.
do. We need to bring Karen back down.
You know, when she was here previously, I was not. It was a day that I was out. I was going through my eye surgery phase, and thankfully, I'm beyond that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, stay that way.
yes, I
hope
hope
so.
so too.
But yeah, that was a big day. It was 41 pallets of pottery.
Wow.
It was
On two
two
trucks.
trucks. Yeah, it was a lot.
I drove that forklift that day and got them all off. I was nervous.
But you did it.
We did it. I didn't break
Did you?
anything.
You didn't break anything.
I didn't break anything.
But you
Nothing.
used our loading dock.
I did.
Ramp, and that
That was
made
great.
that made life a lot easier.
yeah,
didn't
we
it?
drove right up the ramp with the forklift, right onto the semi-trailer and unload them that way. So
I've never seen that in use before, so it
was
was
great.
an exciting day. Not only did we get 41 pallets of pottery, but got to see that in action.
And
What's the new-
actually intact
Yeah.
pallets.
What will the theme be next year? Is there a particular color scheme that is going to be real popular that you're guessing at?
It's always like off-whites, neutrals, natural finishes. I would say that's going to continue.
Well, and they go with everything.
They
and-
do. You
and-
can't go wrong
So
with
if
it.
you're particularly as transient as people tend to be, you know, they sell homes or move from one apartment or condominium to another. They're easily transferable from one decor to another without them clashing and being something that doesn't go with the new stuff, or that is unless, you know, the people who are moving in after you want to negotiate and you just keep them, and that way you don't have to move them.
Well, you
That's
pop
right.
some color. Now, I fell in love with the red ones.
You have what, 6 now?
8.
You have 8.
8.
Yeah. Josh went wild with some red pots we had. Every week you bought 2, it seemed like.
Yes, it was quite the deal. And then some of them are going to be moving forward, paying forward, but they don't know about it yet. But some of them are going to be we're going to be moving down. But
When you say moving down, does that mean re-gifting? Is that what you mean? Or?
they've never been gifted yet, so they can't.
Oh, yeah,
be
so
You can't
technically it's
re-gift
not a
something that-
re-gift.
It was
It's not
never a gift.
other than the price, because we did get them on special. So and it got.
I have to
great.
say, when you bought them, it was your plan to gift them. You
Yes.
didn't buy them for yourself. I heard you say, "Oh, these are going to be a
Yes.
great gift."
They're pre-giftitated.
That's
There
right.
you go, Tyler.
But
they-
you won the lottery with that. I mean, the price point on those were fantastic. Maybe one day we'll have another pottery sale like that, but
Don't count on
not
it.
for a while.
Yeah, really.
But
That
we've
will not-
got some
that will
really
not
cool
be
finishes
today.
that
No.
will definitely not be
Speaking of today,
Today.
something worth mentioning is that our business hours are a little different, given that it's Christmas Eve. We're normally open until 4 o'clock. Today we do close at 2 o'clock. So if you're coming out, recommend you get on out here as close to 9 o'clock as possible, or just be
Absolutely.
mindful that we're going to get out of here early, so don't delay. The good thing about it is, rain or shine, we have a completely covered area, so your shopping can happen indoors without getting you all wet. And of course, gift cards are available online
All the time.
even all the way up until 5 minutes before
Everybody
Santa
gets to your
arrives.
house, yeah.
So you can do that all the way up at the last minute. So check it out at batesnursery.com.
Gift cards are the best.
Well, I bet you we've got a few questions out
We
there.
do have
Do
a
we?
few this morning. Yeah, so let's go ahead and start with that. We have a question about planting trees in Nashville. Am I able to plant trees all winter in Nashville? And then they had a second part to that question, which is how big do green giants usually grow in landscapes here?
Good questions.
Big.
Yes, very good.
We have trees through the wintertime all the time, and you can plant them throughout the winter, really at any time, unless the ground's frozen. And even if it is frozen, David's talked about this, if the ground freezes, it's usually like an inch or something frozen. So, like, even if it is frozen, you can still plant a tree. Deciduous trees are really, really hardy for the most part and don't need much extra help. But
It's my favorite time to plant trees because you
It's the
can't do
best.
much else in your garden, but you can
No.
get out there and dig holes and then you water it. I just water it once.
I really love planting trees in the wintertime because I get to see the branching structure of the tree. I don't have all these leaves that are covering. So I get to see the actual stems of the plant, and I can tell which ones I'm going to prune and shape or
which
whatever.
way to orient
Which
it.
way to
Yeah.
orient it. Yes, all of that. So great time to plant trees through the wintertime for sure. And then when it comes to... Go ahead, David.
Well, I was just going to say, I've had several comments because I write this gardening newsletter and I do reply to people directly. And I have had a number of comments this week about people with concerns about this frozen ground planting thing and wondering how long do I need to wait after the ground thaws. It's all it is that if the ground is really frozen hard and deep, you can't physically dig a hole.
Right.
If you can get a hole dug, then it's
plant a
all
tree.
good.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt the roots. There's no they're very adept at the cold temperatures. The main thing is it's really hard to dig a hole if it's like 3 or 4 inches frozen deep. That is a rare occurrence around this part of the world. So pretty much, and it's frequent that we go through all winter and don't have any
Anything.
frozen soil
No, right.
at all. We
Yeah.
did for a few days last winter. Don't know about this one.
Yeah.
Too
I
soon to
hope
tell.
not.
But it's all we know is that this time last year, talk about a diversion topic. We were all going, well, what is this? It was 60 degrees, at one part of the day. And then it was,
Zero.
or
even
right
less.
at it. Yes. it just a few hours later. So,
And that was literally like exactly a year ago, wasn't it? That was
right,
pretty much
20
the
years
third.
ago right
Yeah.
now.
23rd.
And that
It was terrible.
That
Devastation.
definitely exacerbated the problem because people were not focused on taking care of plants and making sure that because they're distracted by Christmas and that's and I couldn't afford to be.
Well, and at the end of the day, David, we all knew that this snap was going to come, but I don't believe anybody understood how severe it was.
Even
actually
at the
going to
beginning
be.
of the day, we knew
Right.
it.
No,
Yeah.
we didn't. I never thought like our broadleaf evergreens, like hollies and laurels, would lose their leaves. Like that thought never even crossed my mind.
Right.
I mean, I knew it was cold. There's nothing you could do over the wintertime. You couldn't have covered. It's nothing that we could have done.
We've never seen freeze-dried conditions before.
not that fast.
Where that you had plants that were dormant but not fully dormant, and you've got that blast furnace of cold. The freeze
with the
drying.
wind, it just desiccating.
I was out in it for about 15 minutes every 2 or 3 hours for a 60-hour period of time, and it was the most. And now people that live up north, I just go. I would keep thinking, why? That's a very difficult. It's a very difficult. So I admire you for being. Those of you who live in the northern climates, for being so tough. I'm not
I could
that
never.
40-mile-an-hour wind and zero. It's really tough.
I did that too, and you felt it in your face. Like your
Yeah.
face immediately like froze.
Oh yeah, I was
Your
out trying to find
eyelashes
my
hurt.
water meter to cut my water off because all of our pipes froze in the middle of the night. We couldn't find the shutoff, so we really felt it for a few hours. Actually, digging in the snow trying to find it. It was great. It was a good time. But I do want to give a shout out to one of our customers, Cheryl. Also, Austin calls her Paducah.
Yeah.
She comes in here. She's from Paducah. She comes down to shop at our garden center, and she's a landscaper. And she told me about how like 20 years ago she had to do an install. It was shrubs, trees, and perennials, and it was snowing. And they did the entire install in the snow, and she said that's the best install she's ever done.
I remember her
spring,
saying that.
Everything took. They didn't lose any plants. She
Right.
said it was kind of terrible doing it.
Yeah.
But they didn't have to water, and everything was
I can
great.
remember when, as a lad growing up, my dad was really great to let us work. As a kid growing up, and we had
You had to
sod.
eat, right?
We had sod that was on pallets that was frozen, and we literally had to take spades and break the pieces of sod off. And we laid frozen sod, and it 100% lived.
Yeah.
Really, it's much better as far as survivability goes, compared to hot middle of the summer.
Definitely.
But it was not fun to handle. And I cut you off before you got through answering the question earlier. But I'm bad for that.
Oh, yeah, we haven't gotten to the second part yet.
Well, the second part, the old Green Giant Arborvitae. That's our best-selling screening option for screening out your neighbors, or you got something you just want to green screen. Yeah, it's a very good plant, and the biggest Green Giant I think I've ever observed is probably about 30 feet. I
have seen them back in the day, and there's a nursery, Worthington Farms in North Carolina, has a hedge of 60-foot specimens. So I know they can get that large. Yeah, and that's really what inspired me to really. I knew that was a plant that was missing in the landscapes around Middle Tennessee, and consequently, I think that others took note of that, and there's a lot of people growing it now, and rightly so. That and Emerald Arborvitae, both 25 years ago, were barely used in this area, and now they are used everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, man. It's not just used as a screening plant. I mean, that's a great application for Green Giant Arborvitae. But that plant is a very formal growing plant. So it's a very pyramidal shape, really, without any type of prune.
Exactly.
So it's like 8 feet wide at the base, roughly, working up to about 30 feet here in the mid-state anyway. But it's formal. You don't need a prune. So if you have a large home, say 2 or 3 story home that's pretty big, and you bring the corner, you want like a corner plant on the edge, you don't have to go super skinny with Emerald Green Arborvitae. You can use Green Giant Arborvitae. Just make sure it's kicked out from the house
You need to have that out 6 feet.
Yeah, about 6 feet from the house. But it actually looks very nice on on a corner of a big home.
I love them on either side of the driveway.
Exactly.
That's
another look.
Absolutely gorgeous.
As long as you give yourself a little space around the base, then you're good with that plant. So it's a good one.
People frequently misjudge. That's the biggest and most frequent landscape error, that people buy a large corner plant or something that could be used as a screening plant and simply plant it too close to the house. Yes. We have a hedge row on the northern property line of Green Giant Arborvitae that we planted 4 years ago. They were in a 7-gallon container. They were about 3 feet tall. They're how tall now, Austin?
They're 12?
They're 12 foot.
Yeah.
They're 12 foot easy.
So, they're really at that stage where they're making the big jump. And you can see that year after year now, where they are just, they're adding feet per year now.
Seriously, it's incredible how fast they grow.
And within a couple of years, and I planted these 10 feet on center. So within a couple more years, they will be into each other, and that green wall effect, which is what my goal is.
You often recommend as well to offset them
if you've got room for it. Now, the one thing about Green Giants is they get so big.
Right.
A lot of people don't have room for that. In this area where I planted them, there was no room.
Right.
No.
There was no room to put. And if you had room and you could put them 10 feet on center, but put the 2 rows 10 feet on center, that means they're actually
gorgeous
every
if you've got the
20
room.
feet per in a row. From a design standpoint, it looks a lot nicer.
Yep.
But you don't always have the space, particularly
Right.
for something that a conifer that gets so large.
Yep. Samara, we see you on YouTube, and thank you for the good wishes. We see Jude, thank you for the good wishes. Debbie, thank you for the good wishes. And Alita, as always, from McMinnville, every Saturday. Thank you for joining.
Mac Minville.
Yep, sure do.
Yeah.
We got some trees from Mac-Minville last week. Big old big,
Oh,
big
yeah,
Christmas
we did
trees.
get a bunch.
They're big.
I used
Speaking
to
of
know a
B&B,
guy named Mike Minville.
Really?
Mike
Minville?
Mike Minville.
Mike Minville.
Michael. Yeah.
All right, we got a question about living Christmas trees.
Okay.
So, how often do I need to water my living Christmas tree after I plant it? So I'm
after you
assuming you're
plant
going to
it.
plant it,
In the ground.
next week or
Yeah.
definitely in the ground.
Okay. So it's an evergreen plant. It's going to need a little bit more water than deciduous plants, but not a ton more, y'all. Over the wintertime, even conifers don't need just a ton of water. I don't want you just soaking that thing every day or whatever. Like, it does not need to be sitting in a lot of water. So right after you plant it is the most crucial. Like, that's with any plant you ever plant. If you plant and you water the first time correctly, then usually you're okay. So with a big balled and burlapped plant, it's got a good amount of water in that ball. Okay, it's like field dug. It's been in the earth of Middle Tennessee for the most part, for us anyway. And then so you put it in the ground, you water it, soak it really deeply the first time, and then usually you can walk away. Maybe you have to water once every 2 weeks. Maybe honestly, not even.
My father, we that was his thing. That we had living Christmas trees for several years until he ran out of spots in the backyard to put them. Dug the hole, put them in, watered them, never touched them again.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you do it right the first time through the wintertime, you don't necessarily have to do anything else.
And normally the weather is such that you don't really have to be concerned about watering during the winter months. However, given the El Nino year we're in, and Middle Tennessee lies, we're right in, that we are in the heart of the transition zone, and it's every forecast I look at, and I look at a lot of them, we are either going to be, warmer or we're
colder.
going to be colder.
Okay.
And I made an offhand remark in my newsletter this week about that. Is it going to be warmer and wetter or colder and drier? They don't really know, depending on where the frontal systems go, steered by El Nino. So all that is to say is that typically you get plenty of rain, you water it the first time, like Austin said, and then you don't have to. But this might be the exception. I'm a lot more concerned about keeping it watered properly until you get it in the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's in the house right now, this is still. I know we're down to the last couple of days. Don't stop maintaining it. Get ice and
Ice
put
is
on
what we always used.
it keeps it dormant. You want it to not break dormancy while it's in the house. And we've got some really large white pine out here, bald and burlap. I cannot imagine putting one of those in the house.
Oh, they're huge.
They're so
big.
unless you have double doors that are 14 feet tall that have forklift accessibility.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. You need 4 really strong guys and something to, I just wouldn't even, I wouldn't.
Where are you going to get those 14-foot doors?
I don't know. The folks over at Crosland might have those.
It's special order.
Yeah. So you need to be planning like in June to get those in before Christmas.
Well, you need to order the doors first, so it's going to be June at least before you get them if they're 14 feet tall. All righty. Got one over here on Facebook from Donna. Donna says she had to cut down and grind out the stumps of 2 green giant arborvitae after the tornado. Can they replant in the same spot?
It's always in the same spot. Y'all always want to go to the same spot. And honestly, it's okay. It just depends on, how much, we talked about this, how much like sawdust you have that they ground out down there, Like when they do that, it seems like a lot of earth is kind of removed with it, So you're kind of left with a hole, but not a great hole with soil.
It's not enough.
It's not enough usually.
You need to get someone with a backhoe to get in there and dig out that whole, get the whole root system out of there. If you want to go back in the exact same spot, that's what you got to do. And that's not always easy, depending on where that is. But if you got to go back in the same spot, that's what you'll need to do. But if you can stagger them over a few feet and just move them both over, then you can avoid having to do that and get them back in the same general area. So I don't know what your landscape will dictate. But
You know what else would be a good tip for them? Is to have some Earth Mix garden products out there on the job while they were ready to roll up and do that.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay.
And he's good to help keep me mindful of where we are in the program
And the clock, as it were.
And the clock, as
Yes.
it were. And we
Okay.
are.
We've already done the weather, David.
We've already done the weather. There we are, back to Earth Mix garden products. And if you want to have the very best success in whatever you're planting, it doesn't matter if it's vegetable garden or if you're talking about edible landscape plants, blueberries, figs, fruit trees, or anything that's ornamental in nature. All those plants like the same kinds of things. They just need a little bit different mixes. And that's where Earth Mix Garden Products comes in. It's 100% organic. There are no chemical additives or fertilizers. It's all naturally fertile. Endo and ectomycorrhiza fungi has been added along with humic acid. And these are things that nature naturally supplies, and they give your plants the things that if they're out, if you see plants doing well out in nature on their own, that's what Mother Nature is providing. Earth Mix Garden Products provides additional amounts of that and rich organic material that's 100% organic, that's going to keep everything growing great no matter what it is. And if it's an indoor plant, well, Caroline highly recommends Proganics Eye. And the great thing about all Earth Mix products is that there is no peat in any of them. They are 100% peat-free. Coconut core is used instead, which is a decidedly more sustainable product. So no matter what your landscape needs are or what you're trying to grow, there is an Earth Mix product for you. Check it out at earthmix.net. And while you're there, go over to the Find Earth Mix tab. And once you click on that, you'll see there'll be a page that'll come up here in just in a second. I did not refresh my page this morning.
Okay.
But in a world where I came prepared, you would be seeing a map right about now. And I don't know. It's taking it it's sweet time, so I'm just going to skip that part and go
It's
back
everywhere. It's everywhere.
Go to earthmix.net, click on the Find Earth Mix map, and there'll be all these points all over Tennessee, Kentucky, northern Alabama. Check those out. You can either put your address in for turn-by-turn directions or just zoom in to the location nearest you. Remember this, success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix garden products.
What would be better than a bag of Supernatural under the Christmas tree, David Bates?
2 bags.
2 bags? Okay, I understand. Okay.
So yeah, have success in gardening. Take the guesswork out of it, and because that's really what Earth Mix is all about. It's about taking the work out of it. You know, you want to have success when you're planting, but you don't want it to be too much like work.
The best inputs to get the best output.
Exactly
Earth Mix
right.
garden products.
Correct. Well, speaking of compost, let's
compost.
answer a question about that. Is it recommended to put down compost and mulch now or best to wait until spring?
Yes.
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 Do it now.
Yeah.
Do
it.
compost anytime.
Yep.
Do
That's
compost
true.
anytime.
Yeah.
When it comes to mulch, I mean, mulch is mainly just an aesthetic. I mean, it helps a little bit with like water retention, but honestly, it's mainly just for looks. So if you don't like the way it looks and you need to add mulch, then go ahead and add your mulch. But make sure you put your Supernatural down below it first.
Absolutely.
And then mulch on top.
Mulch on top.
And one of the good things about hardwood mulch in particular, a lot of people go, well, you know, I put that down and it just goes away and disappears. It's not disappearing.
Keep the color.
Well, but it being an organic product breaks down and it actually adds to your soil.
Absolutely,
so
does.
it's another really positive thing. Now, I know we all get tired of having to redo things on some frequency level. But if you really want to work on your soil, that's a great way to do it. There's nothing wrong with using a permeable weed barrier and gravel if that's the way you want to go. But don't let yourself think that your compost or that your mulches that you're using are just going away. They are really going into your soil and improving it.
Yep.
One big tip with mulch too is y'all don't overdo it, okay? When you got a main stem of a plant or your shrubs, like don't keep building that mulch up around the main stem of the plant. That just adds
I see that all the time.
All
Little
the time.
pyramids up and around the trunk of the tree.
right on the trunk. I mean, like some of we have a year warranty on most of all of our plants, and if we ever see trees that are planted and they come back, a lot of times we'll see like the stem will have like 6 inches where you can tell there's been either mulch or dirt piled up around that stem.
Well,
Not a good thing.
6 inches,
Not a good
that's
practice.
high, too.
I know, but people think that you ought to bury the stem for some reason. I'm not sure why this is a practice, but people do it.
there are some trees that can tolerate that, but the more hardwood they are, the less tolerant they are of
That's
that
the reason
practice.
it's on top of the ground, folks.
Right.
Okay.
Good point, Josh. Yup.
And what can also happen is if that mulch stays wet like it's supposed to, it can rot the bark off all the way around. And if that happens, that tree is dead.
It happens all the time. Yeah, we see it all the time. And one of the biggest questions I get whenever people want to purchase a tree, and I ask them, have you ever planted a tree before? A lot of times the answer is no. And they'll say, how deep do I need to plant this? Right? No deeper than what It is, like where the pot, like that's as deep as you want, if not a little bit higher than soil level. Never go below soil level with your tree. That stem should never be below the earth. It needs to be a little bit above it or right level with it. But
Yeah.
it's a common question.
And I would say if you're curious about practices that people who do landscape maintenance, and if you see them this is a practice that started in commercial landscapes, because I think people are looking for things to do to create, and I don't blame them for that.
To justify the contract that they signed.
But that's a very bad practice. So I would take note of, I would avoid doing business with anyone or taking their horticultural advice if they're doing that practice. It is that volcano look. Do not do that ever.
How about planting your color and your annuals right on top of the black mulch? Is that a good idea?
With a lot of annuals, that's honestly a lot of times okay.
Oh, is it
They
really?
typically will reach and get into some soil. They're very shallow rooted plants though, so if it's like a thick layer of mulch,
Well, it's
probably
always
not,
6 inches deep. Man.
pretty much, yeah. If it's not 6 inches, if it's say 2 or 3 inches like it should be, then typically your annuals will latch in below that. Because I've done that many a times, had to plant right in the mulch, but I try to get it, in there a little bit.
That's for one of those little earth augers you
Yeah.
put on a cordless
Zip.
drill. They work great. You can
Awesome.
get through the mulch and get down into that soil
Little
and
bit of
get
dirt.
it in there.
Uh-huh.
You don't
Yeah.
have to go deep.
No, you really don't.
But it will clear that bark out of the way and
Yeah.
and get the plants making soil contact where you need them to have it.
Yeah, and that's really all. It's really amazing what plants can do if you just. When I was in college, I remember there was a big tulip poplar that was supposed to be put in the ground at some point. It was a big B&B tulip poplar. It sat at the corner of our Hort building, where I had most of my classes, and it never got planted. I don't know what happened. It was just whatever. It was leaned up against the fence, bald and burlap, sitting on top of the earth. Well, it got to be like a year or two later. That tree was not moving. It rooted into the ground, and it was going to be a tree unless they did some severe cutting on it. So what roots can do are pretty amazing, honestly. As long as they've got soil contact and a little bit of moisture, they'll root into it.
So what do they do with it?
I don't know. I don't know what ever happened
You
to that.
graduated and moved on.
Yeah, either that. It may still be there. I don't know.
Was it
kind
at
of
the
funny.
Ag Barn?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It was and it
I'll
was
go
big.
by. I'll go by there next week and see. Was it out front? Where you?
It was out on the side of the Hort building. So
Okay.
yeah, and it's probably not there anymore. Surely it's not there anymore, but I don't know.
Don't call me
It'd be
Shirley.
nice if it was. Oh.
Well, it's crazy. Also here too, like we have say weeping willow trees that are in a container, okay,
They'll
sitting
root in,
on the
yeah.
ground on gravel that we have here. And if they don't sell quick enough, those roots go right through the bottom of that pot and root into the earth. And sometimes you got to get them out, and we have to just sever the roots, to get them into somebody's vehicle.
Yeah,
or
and
whatever.
that doesn't hurt them. I
No,
mean,
no.
when
Especially
you,
not willows.
Not willows. God, their roots are insane.
and most anything that's in a container has got a pretty fibrous root system.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you're gonna cut a few roots, not a big deal.
Yeah.
You may have to some things like willows grow so rapidly that the pot can't be slipped off. You have to cut the pot
Yeah,
to be able to get it
absolutely.
out of
That
there. And then
happens a
you
lot. Mm-hmm.
got to do some roughing up of the root system. You don't want them to get root bound, or you don't want them to stay circling around if that's the case.
Spiraling.
Yeah, another common question is about plants that are root bound. Like you'll sell a tree and they'll be like, "Well, is this plant really? Or is this like root bound or whatever?" And I'm like, thinking to myself, "Well, would you rather have too many roots or not enough at all?" Okay, so if you ever pull a
Absolutely.
stem of a plant, like a lot of times we pick up plants by their stems, not necessarily their pots. And if they're well rooted, you can pick them right up by their stems, and their pot comes along, everything's fine. Well, say some certain things, like say young dogwood trees, don't necessarily have the most extensive root system.
Right.
You pick that up by the stem, it might come right out of that pot.
Right.
I don't want that. I mean, I would
don't want
much
that.
prefer have a plant that has a lot of roots rather than not enough.
Yeah.
So being root bound is not that big of a deal. You just got to, like David said, tease them a little bit, mess up the root ball a
It's
little.
an easier problem to deal with. If you've got to
Yes.
pick one, I'd rather it be on that side of the equation.
Oh, you know a guy named Paul Gant?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Who
Never
would
heard of
that
it.
be?
I don't know.
Just kidding. Yes, I do.
This is funny. The shadows
no.
behind Austin look like the Easter Bunny keeps trying to attack him. It could be Harvey, but my money is on the Easter Bunny.
I messed with these horns
Love
yesterday.
you and love you. Love the set, Mom and Dad.
Now, I'm
gang.
going to call those antlers. There's
Yeah,
a difference.
They're supposed to be.
Horns don't fall off. Antlers do, and I'm pretty
do.
sure those will come off.
Yeah, Paul's kind of right though. They look like two little rabbits, like
They do.
about to box
You've
it
got
out.
one behind you that's going to attack you.
Thanks,
That's a
Paul.
Good
Thanks.
observation.
Yeah, thanks for telling everybody that.
Mr.
Yeah,
Bunny
thank you for
from
that.
Captain Kangaroo. You remember him?
Yes,
You're
I
old
do,
enough to remember
yes.
Mr. Bunny.
Yes.
Do you even know who Captain Kangaroo is? Here?
I know who
yeah.
Captain Kangaroo,
Okay.
yes, but I know nothing else beyond that.
Okay.
That's where it stops.
They're close enough.
Close
Yes.
enough. Hey, y'all, we got a question from the Washington Coast area.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
I know, right? Somebody out there.
Washington?
shout
I've never
out.
even been there.
I
haven't either.
Is this
I have.
no?
It's
Is this the Washington Coast in the Pacific Northwest?
They
or-
just said Washington Coast.
I'm assuming.
And their climate is very mild, is what they
and
say.
wet
Absolutely.
currently.
Yes, and wet currently. So they have a question about irises. They say they cut back their irises, and then
How many of them?
And then they regrew, flowered here in December. So I'm not sure if I should cut them back again with all the rain and moisture. We had a couple light frosts, but nothing huge. Do you think I should cut them back around this time?
You got to
Wow.
be
Said,
careful
"Thank you,
when you're
Merry
cutting back
Christmas."
the Irish.
Wow, that's
Be careful.
that's pretty cool though. Here in Middle Tennessee, we don't get to ever see a rebloom on an iris all that often,
I feel like
especially not
somebody
in December.
Recently said some rebloomed like in November or so on the show, one of our viewers.
I do, yeah.
Yeah,
now that you
I
say
vaguely
that, I do
remember
kinda
that. Don't know if that rings a bell for anyone else, but yeah, they said theirs were reblooming.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what the weather totally does through the absolute winter time of Washington. I mean, I'm assuming it gets cold enough to where they would just drop dormant and turn to
They've got
mush.
a coastal.
They're an
plain
8B.
there.
It's weird.
They're an 8B.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, so it's very mild all winter. It is, but
It'd be
it's
a little
wet.
damp.
It is wet, yeah.
So the good news is if you need to transplant something, you can pretty much do it whenever you want to do it.
Uh-huh. Now, cutting it back, I mean, I don't necessarily say you need to cut it back unless you feel like you need to, like when it looks bad. Like around here, whenever our irises turn to mush, more or less, we
Right.
decide to just clear cut them to the dirt. And then they're coming back in the spring and flowering for us. So you've got a reblooming iris in December. I say enjoy it while you got it. Why
Absolutely.
not? I mean, that's cool. And then whenever it does turn to mush, if it ever does, then you can give it a clear cut back and it should, I would assume, shoot and bloom again.
And if you just want to transplant it, you might just want to go ahead and cut it back at that point anyway, and that way you've got
Can actually see where it is, so you know
can
what
just,
to dig.
That way it makes it more. You're going to maybe be digging out a bed of them and thinning them and putting some back in and putting others elsewhere.
Their native soil is much better than it is in Middle Tennessee. as well,
Yes,
too.
they have nice volcanic soil. It's
Yes.
wonderful.
Yeah. They've got a whole, don't they have like a whole 6-8 inches of just like,
Cascade Range, man.
it's like leftover plant material, more or less, right? Like it's like a buffer zone. Like ferns and stuff grows so well there.
It's
Well, it's a
incredible.
temperate rainforest for
Yeah.
the most part
Yeah.
on the coastal. So,
Cool. Thanks for watching from Washington.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got a viewer. Teresa's in Oklahoma. We see a Smyrna. I see a Smyrna girl watching. Let's see. Yep.
Are we ready for another question? Are you looking for
Actually,
something?
do
What
we
are you
need to
doing?
go about find out what's in the room?
Oh,
What's in room with Caroline?
maybe we do.
He's on top of
He
it.
It
is
is.
on top of it today. This is fun. We're all on the same side, so we don't have to switch sides. So in the corner behind David and Josh, and behind me and Austin, we've got Blue Atlas cedar. So we brought these in because this is close to what I have as my Christmas tree. I sent a picture to Tyler, but I didn't send another one, so we don't get to throw that up. But we did put lights on it. It's super cute. It's slim. I'm going to plant mine next week, and I told Austin I was going to keep the lights on when I plant
That's
it.
one we can keep nearer the house too.
Somewhat.
Yes.
Well, I saw, so Debbie, who's one of our seasonal workers who works down in the greenhouse, I went to her house not too long ago, and she has one. Tyler, how tall would you say? It was huge. It was, I've never seen one that big before.
I'll say you have better memory than me.
in my mind, I,
I
would
was
be like, it
wielding a
was
camera.
60 feet tall, but there's
Yes.
no way it was 60 feet tall.
I've
But
seen
it
them
was-
45.
It was
I mean, yeah.
gorgeous
Yes.
and huge, and the trunk was really, really big. So they do get big, but they stay very, very slender. So yeah, something you could plant close to your house. We've got some highlights arborvitae. Actually, I don't think that's that particular variety.
That
That's
was-
something from Isley.
Forever Goldie.
Forever Goldie. Looks a
Okay.
lot like highlights, which we do have down in front. And then these 3 little plants that are sprinkled in are called all gold bloom. I don't have any experience with these. Austin said there's not a lot here that people grow, but they do get huge.
Wow.
And they have little yellow flowers in the spring.
They are a profusion of yellow flowers.
I kind of want to
I
get
think it's
one
an
now.
underused plant. I think it's a great containerized plant as
You know,
well.
Okay.
Even the nice green stems are attractive.
I know.
this time
It's
of
almost
year.
grassy and bushy at the same time.
Exactly.
So it stays up. It stays green through the winter.
Yeah,
here.
well, the stem, so it loses its leaves, but you can't tell that it doesn't have leaves because of those green stems. So it has this effect of like a grass, like Josh said. But then in the in the
we're showing
spring,
it
it'll
off right
bloom
now.
yellow, and then there'll be tiny little leaves that run across all the stems. So
I might have to get one and try it. But
I
you
think
said
you
they
ought to.
might not do well here, right?
no, honestly, they do fine here. I just don't. I don't know why we don't sell them all that much, but it's just
They have been a big seller in years past.
Yeah.
that
they've gotten less popular. I don't know.
When they're in bloom,
They're great.
they go immediately. So they don't. They're not the greatest hot weather
Yeah,
plant.
that's the
They're
thing.
wonderful in cool weather, and they'll do okay here.
Mm-hmm.
But the summer heat is the real issue for them. So
Are they
just-
fragrant when they bloom?
No,
No,
okay.
not
Not
that I know.
fragrant?
but they're quite showy.
Now, what kind of sun do they like?
Full?
Full
Really
sun. They do
Outdoor.
look like a
Yeah.
full
Outdoor sun.
Outdoor sun. So not a house plant is what you're trying to say.
They are not.
Are those camellias?
Those are camellias. So we've got some camellias on either side. One is a little bit showier than the other. I love camellias, even though mine died back to the ground. And I fully lost my Yuletide in the December freeze. But the rest are coming back slowly but surely.
Slow.
Very slow. But we have some in full bloom in the Bates tree right now, which if you're wondering what that is, that's our nice covered area that we have. So we're shoppable during rainy days and when it's cold outside. And all right, so down in front, we've got a little Christmas display. We've got a lot of poinsettias, which, by the way, today they are free. 1 poinsettia per Bates Rewards members while they last.
That is
We
right.
do not have a whole lot of them, but if you want to come out and snag you a
First
single
come,
one. First come, first serve. Oh, Josh is getting one. And he is a Bates Reward member, so he does
Absolutely.
get to take one home with him. We really just have white and pink left, which I love. And then you can keep it year round. You don't have to throw that plant away. And then down in front, we've got some Christmas cactus still blooming. Tyler, if we go back down to the lower,
He's
to the
working
lower
on it.
shot
He's
where you
working.
were. So they're kind of tucked away, but we've still got some holiday plants here. So if you miss out on the poinsettias, you can grab yourself a Christmas cactus. Those are not free though. So
No.
they are something that I keep in my house year round, and we usually tend to keep some in the greenhouse throughout the year. And then behind, we've got some topiary lavenders that are shaped like little Christmas trees.
Look at that.
That would be a great gift to bring to wherever you're going tomorrow or on Christmas Day. You could put it on the countertop. It smells amazing, and they're super, super cute. Then you can stick it outside when the weather warms up. And then down in front, that little yellow pyramid that you're seeing, that's a highlights arborvitae that I mentioned earlier. We've got 3 down there.
And they do look incredibly similar.
They do. They look very similar. I actually have one planted at my
It's not quite
house.
as upright as the ones that are behind.
Yeah,
you
they're a
and I.
little bushier,
Yeah,
a
a
little
little fatter.
chunkier. They're pretty cute. I have one that's kind of growing in the shade. Ugh, I just stuck it in a hole, and
It's not quite as gold, though,
it's
is
not
it?
quite as gold. It still does have some gold, but it is growing very slow. It's been in there for about 4 years now. And then back behind, we've got globe blue spruce. So they look like little, what are those called? Snow globes. So it's a perfect little holiday plant. Look at that with the Christmas lights in it.
They're absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, they're really, really cute. I love the color. I love spruces. I don't have a blue spruce. I have a couple
How
different.
big will that get?
It gets wide, like 4x4 roughly.
Okay.
It's a
That's
That's
shrubby
not crazy
feller.
big though.
No, and they're slow to get there. Out of all the blue spruce that we sell, I feel like that one does the best here for some
Really?
reason.
It's just
Really?
manageable.
It is. It's manageable.
Because others can get quite large.
Bagworms like it?
Bagworms will eat almost any
They like
conifer.
everything.
Any kind of conifer.
Yeah.
But there's less structure of plant, and they don't have a whole lot of places to hang.
Yeah.
No.
So,
So you think it would do well here? Would it hold its
I've seen a
bloom?
lot of blue spruce, globe blue spruce specifically, do just fine here.
Oh, huh.
Not always the case with every blue spruce. Some of the tree form blue spruce get a little thin, and that's the
Yes.
issue. Like they'll live, But do they live super blue and super pretty? Not all the time. You know, every once in a while you'll find a beautiful specimen, but a lot of times blue spruce can get a little thin. Here in the mid-state, I mean, let's be honest,
when I was up
it
in
is.
Michigan, they looked amazing.
Oh, they're great
They
in
were
Michigan.
just like littered in the woods off the interstate.
Oh yeah, I
It
mean
was
it's
stunning.
it's the state tree of Colorado, so
Yeah,
you know
that makes sense.
it's a little tricky here. Over the
not
winter,
like
they're great.
Colorado.
They could care less about cold temps. It's the summertime we have to watch out.
Hey, let's talk for just a minute about if you're interested in a blue spruce or any of these things that we featured here just now. Come out and see us at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. By the way, today we're open from 9 until 2. We're going to close a couple of hours early because, well, it's Christmas Eve, and we all got stuff to
Go do, man.
Yeah, we got stuff to go do to get on with and get our final preparations done. But we hope part of your final preparations are coming out here and seeing us. And if you can't make the trip out and you've got a gift you need to get for that special gardener in your life, well, there is one that is a one-size-fits-all, and that's Bates Nursery gift cards. If you go to batesnursery.com and click on the gift cards tab right there, you'll get a selection of all the different gift cards that are available. And actually, you can create one in any amount. And I don't know why my computer is slow.
Mine's skipping today too. So.
Anyway, there are predetermined amounts. You can also do it a custom amount, and you can pick a design
There
from
it is.
any array of designs. So you can do that for the gardener in your life. But you can also come on out here and see us today until 2 o'clock and check out all the great things we have for gifts. Perhaps pick up a free poinsettia, and we've got like I said, we have a limited selection of them. But if you're a Bates Rewards member, you can get one for free. So,
We have most of them in here, so that tells you how many we have left.
So
There's about 12.
come out and see us. You're going to get 25% off all your landscape plants. So there's only 2 plants that are exempted from that. That's your tropical foliage plants in Caroline's areas and Japanese maples. Other than that, all plants, landscape plants, are 25% off. That includes trees, shrubs, ground covers, all those things. Plus, you also get all bagged earth mix garden products at 25% off. So it's a great opportunity to come out and save big before the season is over. So now we will be reopening again on Wednesday of next week. So just be mindful of that. If you don't get out today, you can still come out on Wednesday and Thursday of next week and take advantage of this great offer. Bates Nursery and Garden Center. And we're coming up on our 92nd year.
Wow.
Will I make it to the 100th anniversary?
Yeah, you will.
That's the question.
Yep.
Yeah, I just got to stay alive.
Nanny, be proud, man.
Yeah. Well, so given the uncertainty of life, I'm just going to do it one day at a time. And this day is the day I got. And we're grateful to have that, and grateful to have everyone who's a Bates Rewards member and a supporter of what we try to do here. We try to be deserving of all the kind things that you have to say about us, and we really appreciate the support we get throughout the year. Thank you for being a supporter of Bates Nursery and Garden Center. On behalf of everyone at Bates Nursery, Merry Christmas to you, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays. And we look forward to seeing you, in the new year.
New Year.
If not today.
Yeah.
For now, we have a new question.
Dun-dun-bum.
Alexis is asking, what are suggestions for those who want to plant something else that will be evergreen if you've lost or removed original plantings, such as like boxwoods and laurels from your landscape?
I thought Alexa only answered the question.
Yeah.
Alexis, David.
Alexis.
Sorry. Okay.
Oh, Alexis. So there's a lot of options for this. Look, last year was an anomaly, okay? We didn't, that was a weird year. We don't usually see stuff like that happen, okay? So replanting boxwoods or hollies or laurels is not necessarily a bad thing to do. Now, if you really wanted to switch up and go with something extremely, extremely cold hardy, let's get some, cold hardy conifers in there for you. There's some dwarf, like Norway spruce. There's these dwarf Colorado blue spruce.
Hedge of
like I
those
said,
would
you
be
talk about
amazing.
Yeah, and like winter hardiness is no problem with that. If you come out to Bates and you see our nursery right now, what you're going to see is the first 3 sections of plants, okay? And then the rest are put up. We put all those in the garden center or in the greenhouse, the Batrium, which is what we call it. We have all of our plants that are like leafy evergreens. We just do that to kind of protect them through the wintertime. But the plants that you do see out on the lot right now are the cold hardiest of cold hardiest. So we've got arborvitae, we've got juniper, we've got what's the last one? Spruce that we keep out,
And all of our deciduous trees.
and all deciduous trees. All very, very cold hardy options. But if you really want, you come out here and you see those plants that are outside on the lot still. Those are the cold hardiest you can buy. So check out those first if that's what you want. If you don't want to go back with those leafy broadleaf evergreens that really got whacked last year.
In all the decades, and it's been many, that I have been doing horticulture business, only the second time ever I have seen boxwood ever get damaged.
Yep. And I'd never seen that. I haven't been around long enough to see that. This is the first year it's happened for me.
So it's it's a very rare occurrence, but it most certainly occurred. And unfortunately there's a lot of people who still have not dealt with it, and
I know.
and they either will not deal with it, or they've got the opportunity still ahead of them.
Well, the thing is, too, is like just what you said. We had a couple guests come out 2 days ago, and they had not replaced their boxwoods that got injured, and they decided to do it. And then a few days ago, we had 20% off.
Right.
So they replaced like 40 boxwoods. Okay, we have 25% off right now. If you haven't done this, we are
Now's
fully
the time.
stocked, y'all. We've got laurels, boxwoods, hollies, any evergreen you can think of for the most part. We have in really good numbers.
And that's the thing about us. We're not a part-time nursery.
No.
This is all we do, and we do it year-round. So you can.
Y'all sell light bulbs too?
We don't sell light bulbs or plumbing, or
Air
do,
filters.
do we compete with people who sell lumber
No,
or
no.
windows?
No, okay. So you do plants.
We
That's
do.
it.
That's what we do, and the
Okay.
things it takes to grow them well. So
Hey, we got a question about native evergreens in our area. Someone is wondering, what are native evergreen options for our area?
Really good question, and to answer it quickly is not many. We live in a deciduous area of the world for the
there
most
are
part.
some.
There certainly are, and the eastern red cedar is a common one, which is technically a juniper, but that's typically what we say is cedar trees. That's a native evergreen here, and those were not affected by last year's freeze at all. This is Juniperus virginiana, if we're getting technical, and then we have some.
we are technical.
We are very
So
technical.
technical.
And then we have some native pines around here. Okay, so with the eastern white pine we sell, those are certainly native. We have hemlock here that is native-ish, more so to the eastern part of the state.
Rhodies?
Rhododendron is native also to the more
East.
eastern part of the
Now
state.
most of what we sell are hybridized versions of it. So.
Exactly. But there's a few native evergreen options here, just not a ton. But if you wanted to, for me, my go-to is certainly our junipers, our cedar trees that we call cedar. I mean, especially if you're wanting a screen or just a large growing tree, juniper's the way to go.
And the Taylor juniper is a cultivar that was found in Nebraska, and that'll make it's always warms Bridget's heart, our Nebraska girl here at Bates Nursery. And she's normally all about grasses, but she will talk about a Taylor juniper.
Okay.
And they look like a common cedar tree, except for one thing: they are columnar. So if you are looking for something that has more of the look of an Italian cypress, something that's very slender and columnar, that's a great choice for you.
It's the skinniest tree we sell, pretty much.
Yep, and it's extremely winter hardy,
It
where
is.
Italian cypress is not.
No, we
Not
don't
at all.
sell those.
We don't sell them,
Yeah.
no. Some people will try them, and Julie will special order them sometimes randomly. But
I've seen people get a year or two out
Yeah,
of them.
Oh, that's not worth it.
If you're, I don't think so.
No, Taylor juniper's the way to go. They look exactly the same, and they live here.
Yeah, they're going to do better.
I got two at the house. They were affected 0 by last year's freeze. 0.
Perfect. Nice. All right, your thoughts on weed preventer, which is preen, in the winter. And then they said thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
In the wintertime.
I'm not going to go like dead of the winter, I don't think. What do you think, David? Like, I mean, more like late winter into the spring.
It's going to leach and go away so completely that it's really a waste at this time of year. So I would not be one to put down pre-emergent herbicide right now. I would do that as you were mid-February. Leading into the season, it normally only has about a 60-day window that is really effective.
Yeah.
So when you apply that, you want to always apply those to weed-free areas. You know, they do not kill weeds. They only prevent weeds that come from seed. So if you don't have the ground bare or have the beds cleared of other weeds, it really does nothing. So just be mindful of that and have your understanding of what it will do firmly in mind. It is a great aid. It will not make all vegetation stay out.
No.
It won't do it. So,
No.
but it'll
And
sure.
apply it per the package instructions. Don't make it look like yellow snow.
No,
I mean,
and you want to be able to detect the presence of it,
yeah.
but you don't want it. You don't want it to be
They have
yellow.
a picture on the
Yes,
label.
it- you know,
shows
it-
you the
it-
proper spread.
Yeah, you should only, if you had like a nickel, you're probably only going to have like maybe 20 little flakes in that size, and they're very small pieces. So
Yeah.
but don't go crazy with it.
Yeah.
No, that happens all the time, people, especially like landscapers. And I have a really good friend that's a landscaper. He owned his own business for a while, and his guys, he was telling me about how he was spending a lot of money on like the Roundup Quick Pro. That's expensive.
Yes.
And he was spending a lot of money on it. I said, well, how are your guys mixing it? And they were not mixed. They were just pouring a jug, into the spray. It's like literally like 1 ounce per whatever, and they were just dumping it in
Ew,
there.
That's so bad.
But it doesn't do anything better. More herbicide more Roundup does not do anything. If you mix it properly versus if you just overdo it and just dump it in there, it has the same effect.
Just set the
You're
money
just
on
wasting
fire.
money.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
a lot of money.
Yeah, and he was. I had to tell him,
I'm
I said, tell
shocked
your
right
guys.
now.
So on every label, any Roundup you ever get or whatever, any product you ever get, just write with a Sharpie on the front of it. I do this all the time. 3 ounces per gallon or 2 ounces, whatever it is. Put it right on the front, and that way you know every time that's how much you need to
And
mix.
you don't
And
have
that's
to
it.
reread the entire label
Exactly.
every time. But when you first get a product, particularly if it's something that's new and you're unfamiliar with, or if it's some new version of it, they could have changed the percent of active ingredient. You really
Yes.
need to read that label the first time, and then what Austin's talking about, take a Sharpie and mark it on the front how you're typically going to use it. It does not work better to be putting it on there at a ridiculously high rate.
No, not at all.
Even going above and beyond, much beyond the rate that they ask.
Occasionally, there are things. Say if you're going to spray Johnson grass or Bermuda grass, there may be a higher rate. It might be half again higher, but it's not going to be 4 times the rate.
No.
You do not get 4 times the result by using 4 times.
Not at all.
I just can't stop thinking about them not diluting it.
Yeah,
Let's think about succulents, though. My succulents are leggy, and it's annoying. What can I do? This is a fantastic question. So, with succulents, especially like the Echeveria kind, which look kind of like a little rose or peony.
Hens and chicks.
Hens and chicks, yeah. They will get leggy. So, especially if they're not getting direct sunlight. These plants like a lot of sunlight. So, if they're not getting it, they'll grow towards the sun and they'll start to look leggy. So, typically, they naturally will shed some of their lower leaves, meaning the stem's going to come up and they're going to start reaching. What I suggest doing is just cutting that off. It's not going to kill the plant. So you can take that top cutting, you can remove those lower leaves that don't look great, and then you can pretty much immediately just stick it in a new pot or the same pot, and it's going to reroot. And then that spot that you cut from is going to flush out little pups. You usually will get 1 to like 4 new little growings from it, and then they'll stay low, they'll look super cute, but getting them sufficient sunlight is pretty important. But usually they will eventually get a little bit leggy, and you will have to cut them back, and it does look a little bit annoying.
Or they can just simply overgrow the area. And we have a prime example of that you've got in the greenhouse area where there's a cactus. I believe it's got a stocking cap on top. And
It
then
does.
It's
We
got,
put a
it's
Santa
got a
hat
big,
on it.
It's got a big ribbon about halfway up.
I thought
and
that one was going to get macheted.
It is going to get
It's getting
macheted. We
there.
have not done
unless
it
you
yet.
come in this today and purchase it, because it's a great specimen.
It is. How tall would you say it is? I mean, it's taller than what the ceiling used to be before we redid the greenhouse. It
every
wouldn't
bit
have
of 10
fit.
foot.
I think it's way taller than 10 feet. But you know how bad I am with height. so-
Yeah.
It's about 10 foot, I think.
Now, once you take the machete to it, will it propagate like a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
cactus?
so
will?
with the cacti, this is a euphorbia type cactus. You'll want to let it callus over for 2 to 3 weeks so it doesn't rot when you go to stick it in the ground and or in the pot. And rooting hormone powder is great for these. It really accelerates them rooting, and then that bottom cutting, just like the echeveria that I was talking about, is going to grow new little cactus arms. So if you do have a cactus that's just one column and it's pretty annoying, that's what this one is. A lot of people like the look of, they call them cowboy cactus, where they've got multiple arms coming out like this, like what you see in Westerns.
Makes you want to go yeehaw.
Makes you want to go yeehaw. That is one way to get that look, because once you take that cutting, it's going to push out from nodes where those thorns or spines are coming out of, and it's going to get multiple arms. Now, another way to do this, if you have a short cactus and you don't want to cut it, is you can put a hat on it. So it's not going to get sunlight on the top, and then it's going to push to those nodes that are getting sun. It's going to be a little bit slower, but you don't have to cut it, so you can just cover the top of it.
Necesita usar un sombrero?
A sombrero, yeah. You can
Sombrero?
stick a sombrero right on top of that cactus, make it look super cute. Or a Santa hat in the winter, or a baseball cap if you're Austin. I mean, there's so many different options. Yeah.
Hey, you know, I just did. What was that weird jade I bought the other, like 2 or 3 weeks ago? Remember? That little stacks. Looks like little pancake stacks.
Weird
Come
jade.
on.
Oh.
That's that weird
I don't think I was
crassula.
here when you bought it, so I was like, "What are you talking about?" If you
It
hadn't
looks
asked
like
me,
hair.
I'd know what it is.
It kind of looks like hair or whatever. And I put it in a pot for my wife. It had a little face pot because it kind of looked like hair and it was cute. So I got it for her. And I had to do this. It had one arm that was just leaning out weird and it looked stupid and I hated it. So I cut it off and I put it in a different pot. I stripped some lower leaves and just sunk it down in a. What's that other plant I got? The money tree. The big money tree that I got. It was money. And I put the jade right in, just stuck it right in, gave it a little bit of water, and I think it's already rooted.
I bet it is. Yeah, those will be
it'll
real.
just
A
fill.
string of buttons. That's what that is.
That's what it is,
It looks
yeah.
like a little stack of buttons. It looks kind of like origami too. It's
They're
really,
cute.
really neat. Oh, look at that fade
We're
out.
fading.
Oh,
Tyler.
it's Christmas. It's Christmas time, guys, and thanks for tuning in.
Jazz
we want
hands.
to invite
Everybody
you.
jazz hands. Happy
Why are we
Merry
doing
Christmas.
this?
Come out
Because
and
it's
see us.
amazing and cool.
Come out and see us. We're here till 2 o'clock today. And thanks for tuning in. We're here every week. Check us out again next week. We'll wind up the new year or the old year and say welcome in 2024 next Saturday.
Right
So,
here from the
on
Greenish Room
On
studio.
behalf of Josh Carey, Tyler Blankenship,
Yes.
Austin Lowen,
Hey.
Caroline Gant. We all thank you very much for tuning in to Gardening Inside Out.